Hey people, Strawberin0 here, and today we are doing something a little bit different than my usual content. Today I will be reacting to game critics saying stupid stuff for 9.5 minutes. For those of you who don't know, I'm actually a video game journalist. I will not say for what site or sites I write, because that's a surefire way to people finding my articles and getting me potentially in trouble, or I will end up jobless. That being said, I do not work for IGN and I really hate some of the content they put out. I think IGN consistently puts out purely gaming related content that is very hard to watch. I think that infamous Doom 2016 review where a guy couldn't get through one of the first room was them. I think the latest Redfall gameplay trailer where a guy was running around completely ignoring enemies was also them. And of course, a thing that goes really way back that I will never get over is that they gave like a free to God Hand, one of the most revolutionary character action games on the market. So yeah, I wanted to check this out and see if I will agree, because I think people go too far when they come after video game critics or journalists or whatever. Gamers tend to exaggerate, but at the same time, journalists also write some stupid shit. So I wanted to check this out and see if I will actually agree or disagree on most of those cases. So let's see. First up, we have something from IGN.
It has a little something for
okay, it has a little bit of something from everyone. That was memed by Video Game Donkey like to hell and back.
Fright dissolved into frustration as I got killed from behind for the umpteenth time, even as I was crouched motionless and out of sight in an air duct.
You are literally holding a sensor that gives away your position.
Crouched motionless and out of sight
okay,
in an air duct.
That's a great beginning. That's Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, right?
Wouldn't mind something with a little more pizzazz behind it.
Huh?
The same goes for the levels themselves. Again, they're not bad, but they stick so steadfastly to Platforming 101, it's very hard to get excited about them.
Okay, so obviously he proves right away that there are exciting levels. But on that note, yeah, a classic platformer should stick to classic platforming types of levels, because it's a game for people who like classic platformers. It's not a mainstream genre, it's a very niche genre that caters a specific set of people. What the fuck is the problem with that? If the levels are good, it doesn't matter if they stick to the old way of making levels for platformers. Like, who cares? Just tell if the level is good or not.
Ads are one of many aesthetic choices in Cyberpunk 2077 that are grating with no real point. Oh, I haven't finished choices in Cyberpunk 2077 that are grating with no real point.
Okay, that's just wrong. That is completely wrong. Ads are over-sexualized on purpose in Cyberpunk because it's a dystopian version of the world we have today. Like, right now, porn is few clicks away from you. You can go on Twitch, a completely PG-13 site that's safe for kids, and there is borderline pornography there. Cyberpunk is a genre that takes that to the next level. So basically, the porn is not few clicks away, it's few steps away when you step out of your apartment. It's a part of this world. There are two types of ads in this game. One features hyper-violence, like the ones you see on screen right now with the guy lighting a cigarette of a dynamite, and another where a guy heads fucking explodes, and they are promoting like juice or something. And there are the other type, which is hypersexualized. Yeah, it's a part of this Dystopian world. What do you mean they don't serve any purpose? They build the world. What the hell?
It, but I've almost finished it.
And my dreams of hooking up devil-may-care mercenary.
Okay, so that person just didn't finish a game. Ah, yeah, that's pretty bad. You should finish games when you review them, but truth behind video game journalism is that you have to pump out those articles and you really have to finish those games fairly quickly. People are not paying you to play the game, so you need to play the game in your own time before writing a review for it, it fucking sucks because you have to do work outside of work and not get paid for it, so that depends on circumstances, and I don't know this specific case, so...
And my dreams of hooking up devil-may-care mercenary saber with pious priestess Celica were dashed because there's no marriage system.
And then, unfortunately, there are the
that strictly depends on this game. I don't know what this series even is, so I lack the context. Maybe in previous games there was marriage.
Were dashed because there's no marriage system.
And then, unfortunately, there are the werehog levels, and yes, I'm looking directly at you, Sonic
Unleashed?
with rabies.
The brothers joined the
Nah, that's just based. That's just based.
Werehog levels, and yes, I'm looking directly at you, Sonic with rabies.
I didn't even hear what the criticism was, and I don't care.
Bowser's castle is stymied by dull characters, mundane conversations, and frustrating roadblocks. It's a simple slog toward Bowser's castle, interrupted with a near-endless series of uninteresting characters and increasingly annoying gates.
Oh, I found it tricky. First of all, that was pretty bad. Second of all, isn't that like a kid-friendly game? So don't expect deep dialogue.
I died a lot. I got to a point where I'd done the same level 4 times.
Depending on what level she's talking about, I can understand that because Crash has that fucking bullshit bridge level. But repeating a level 4 times in Crash Bandicoot is like 3 minutes, man. They are not long levels, so... Okay, I know this one.
Is a tough game. Old school tough.
Old
So you
school
better bring your
tough.
something A game, as this will test even the most seasoned platforming veterans.
For some,
It's
this is
not.
exactly
I
what
heard that
it resembles the
GameSpot.
1993
I heard that GameSpot has a real problem with platformers.
game of the same name. But with all due respect, those are desperately low expectations.
And as you'll
Did he just say that measuring up to the old Doom is
For some,
low
this is exactly what
expectations?
Doom should be, because it resembles the 1993 game of the same name. But with all due respect, those are desperately low expectations.
The original Doom is a masterpiece of level design and crafting a gameplay loop that can basically, you can go through the first Dooms for the rest of your life and not get bored. That's an insane claim.
And as you'll come to learn, the alien's unpredictability is both Isolation's greatest strength as well as its most crippling weakness.
And when they're done,
I mean, yeah, sometimes it gets annoying when you think you got the hang of the game, then the game surprises you. Depending on the context, it can be a great surprise. But sometimes it's just annoying when the game is like drawing out and you just want it to end and the game is pushing back against you. That can be annoying.
And when they're done,
but I don't think that applies to Isolation.
Kid-friendly for its final few challenges.
But without consistently strong...
I mean, yeah, that is a kid's game.
Simplistic and kid-friendly for its final few challenges.
Spaces, disappointments like the lack of or a breakout star in its cast to carry it through the long hours and
is this
spaces, disappointments like the lack of new races, no companion customization, and major performance problems and bugs take their toll.
Mini boss.
So you state all of the problems and you still give it a 7.7 out of 10. Giving Andromeda 7.7 out of 10 is insane. That game is a stain on Mass Effect. And Mass Effect 3 was already sort of a stain on the legacy of Mass Effect, but Andromeda just killed that series off.
Attempt to add a tougher challenge, but adding more hit points doesn't really matter if they can't really hurt you.
Every opportunity, Lost World got between me and the speed I craved. The Super Mario Galaxy-inspired level designs compound these problems. Sure, they open up some welcome possibilities for exploration, but inserting light puzzles and placing much of the 3D landscape on cylinders and spheres necessitates a bunch of lateral movement, which is directly at odds with my natural hedgehog instinct to speed towards the horizon.
You didn't like...
I sorta agree that this is not what you expect in a Sonic game, but it looks fucking cool, in my opinion. What is this, Sonic Colors? Or it has to be... I didn't play much Sonic games, to be honest. But it looks kinda cool.
On cylinders and spheres necessitates a bunch of lateral movement, which is directly at odds with my natural hedgehog instinct to speed towards the horizon.
You didn't like any of the Sonic the Hedgehogs?
There are no good Sonic the Hedgehog games.
That's just wrong, because Sonic Generations is right there. Even if you want to say modern Sonic games, Sonic Generations is right there.
They fooled us all.
I actually agree with Justin.
The way he leads.
And this was before the latest one. What was it? Frontiers? And many people say Frontiers is alright. Oh no, it's the exaggerated swagger!
Off of rooftops and flips backwards
No,
to
don't
face
say
the camera
it!
before falling into a headfirst dive is just full of the exaggerated swagger of a black
Why the fuck would you say that, man?
teen.
This makes your Pokemon an absolute unit with
so much of
That's just cringe things that I would say, so...
Metal Gear Survive is repeating the same thing over and over again in single and multiplayer, defending the same points from the same zombies, exploring the same zones for the same materials, mining the same resources for the same small amounts of gear. But after learning the ropes and learning to set your own personal goals within that loop, there's an odd comfort in the formula, and I can see myself returning to expand my endgame base out of my own completionist urges. Survive might not compare well to the tactical espionage action that's defined the Metal Gear series we know and love, but its oddly hit-or-miss combo of some solid old ideas and some clumsy new ones has at least some appeal.
So here's the crazy part. I agree with that take. I completely agree with that take. I don't agree with 6.5, that's still generous, but... Yeah, the game is repetitive. It has mechanics that don't make sense, like, what was it, hunger or whatever, where you need to eat. And it has all of the stupid survival elements crammed into it. And it's such a slog to get through. But you do get some enjoyment out of fulfilling that, especially building and defending a base. I cannot explain it, it's such a monotonous game. Defending a base is just you basically set up a fence and you hit zombies with a stick through it. And it's so monotonous that it kinda activates my neurons. Like, I really had a lot of fun in the beta for no reason. Sometimes those completely brainless games that you can completely turn off can generate some of that enjoyment. So I definitely agree that there is some fun to be had with Metal Gear Survive. There are bigger, more pressing problems with how Survive was handled, but I don't want to get into it because that would take like 30 fucking minutes.
Has at least some appeal.
Or maybe,
it does have some appeal.
It's because, despite some fun moments, this is one of the least exciting platformers I've played in some time.
It's a simple task.
Isn't Tropical Freeze like really bad? I really bad of it. Like return to that classic formula.
Is some of the most unfun and Sisyphean gameplay in recent memory.
I thought I didn't play Tropical Freeze. I think that's Tropical Freeze or the other one. Forgot what it's called. But they seem like a pretty alright games, like pretty alright
section of the puzzle. All you need to do is stand on a button, and that button opens a gate for you to bowl a bubble into so you can progress. The only problem is that during SpongeBob's wind-up animation for bowling, he walks forward. That means you fall off of the button, which closes the gate and prevents you from bowling
so
the bubble.
Maybe stand further back.
Where you intended, when you intended.
Or let go of the button earlier. Oh my god.
Force you to restart and face your demons.
That's pretty bad.
And again and again.
That
SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated is rarely amusing or challenging.
There's just no reconciling the feel-good tale of a single father who loves his daughter in the 4 hours of story mode with the image of him gleefully tearing a hole in her chest and proudly standing over her fresh corpse in every other mode.
Who cares? Nobody buys fighting games for the fucking story mode.
But the Hoenn...
Bro, Tekken 7 has one of the shittiest story modes ever. Everybody makes fun of it, and it's still one of the best fighters out there you can buy right now. It's an amazing game, but nobody is buying it for the story, man. The story is like a cherry on top, I guess. And the new Mortal Kombats don't even have that bad of a story. Who cares if the versus matches and quips don't align with the story? We're like, what the fuck is that criticism even?
The region is still imbalanced type-wise, heavily favoring water Pokemon. It's especially noticeable in Alpha Sapphire since the villainous Team Aqua uses a lot of water types. It just feels like there are water Pokemon in nearly every battle.
It's too simple.
Yeah, because the villains are Team Aqua, man.
And too unwieldy.
What do you mean?
Kirby's physics are floaty in Rainbow Curse, making for a rather uncomfortable experience. Corralling him, stopping him from moving, getting him to quickly change directions is a pain. You have to draw your lines quickly and in the right direction, or you could roll Kirby into certain doom.
I mean, yeah, that sounds like you have to play the game and play it kinda correctly. What? What?
And if Kirby is already on the move, snagging him is even more of a pain. If you run out of magic paint to draw those lines, you're in trouble. Death comes easy in Rainbow Curse if you have difficulty adapting to this way of movement.
But I was disappointed.
She literally just said at the end that she is having a skill issue.
That many of the great high mobility mechanics we see in multiplayer were locked behind an easy-to-miss tech tree.
What the fuck is this game? Is it
campaign.
Call of
It's
Duty?
commendable that Treyarch
Is it Call of Duty Infinite Warfare?
multiplayer
way of movement.
But I was disappointed that many of the great high mobility mechanics we see in multiplayer were locked behind an easy-to-miss tech tree in the campaign. It's commendable.
How can a tech tree be easy to miss? What?
Treyarch wants to give us the option to play a simpler kind of Call of Duty, but one of the coolest new features shouldn't be so difficult to find and activate.
What?
99.
Okay, maybe I'm missing some context, but that sounds crazy to me that a tech tree is hard to find? What the fuck?
Total clovers in order to fight the end boss. This makes Tail guilty of a severe case of artificially padding out the gameplay to get to the 8 or so hours I spent beating it. This makes Tail guilty of a severe case of artificially padding out the gameplay to get to the 8 or so hours I spent beating it.
I mean, again, those type of collectathon games like Banjo-Kazooie, they sorta are like that. The main gameplay is the collectathon. You are collecting things, and that's the main gameplay. Weird. Okay, spoilers in reviews. I'm kinda torn on it. If you don't want a game spoiled, don't fucking read the review or watch the review. But at the same time, some spoiler alerts at certain sections definitely should be applied.
Experience with Prey on PC started out promising, but after 40 hours in this atmospheric first-person RPG, it's descended into a literally...
Sorry, what?
But after 40 hours in this atmospheric first-person...
40 hours?
RPG, it's descended into a literally unplayable technical nightmare. Due to repeated save game corruption, I've been unable to complete the campaign.
It lacks the...
I might be missing some context, like he was having a... He was having a technical problem with the game, which is not really his fault, so okay.
Creativity and originality of many of its predecessors while also being absurdly easy. For such a combat-heavy...
I mean, it's Kirby.
...take, Downpour doesn't deliver when it comes to action.
Feels great.
What's the problem with that statement again?
For such a combat-heavy take, Downpour doesn't deliver when it comes to action.
For such a combat-heavy take, Downpour doesn't deliver when it comes to action. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Downpour fucking sucks. It's a Silent Hill that tried to be very combat-oriented, and the combat fucking sucks. So, I think she's correct. Am I missing something here?
It feels great to be back with Xenoblade Chronicles' memorable cast of characters, whether it's
I
the
never played any Xenoblade Chronicles.
lovable meathead Rain or the stoic and inscrutable Duncan.
That's Dunban over there!
Okay, that's pretty funny.
Meanwhile, takes its cues from battle arenas like League of Legends and Dota.
I think you meant to say League there, my friend.
Perhaps you start by digging deep into the game's story problems or its serious issues with women.
The Baker
What? What?
Digging deep into the game's story problems or its serious issues with women.
There isn't... What? There isn't like a one righteous or uncorrupt person in the entirety of Grand Theft Auto 5 story. It doesn't matter if they are women or not. It's a story of crooks and criminals and corrupt people. I have no idea what the fuck that was supposed to mean.
The Baker family, like unstoppable tyrants with unpleasant
I love
personalities,
Resident Evil
are
7.
among the first enemies you'll encounter, and they're by far the most interesting. While that's meant as a
True.
compliment to the characters and the unpredictable encounters and boss fights they produce, it isn't good news for the rest of Resident Evil 7.
Best you can do.
Okay, I know exactly what she meant. That sounds stupid without context, that a game is good at the beginning. But I know exactly what she means because second half of Resident Evil 7 it's not really that great. You fight the generic enemies that are like slime monsters. And they suck compared to Jack Baker, Marguerite, and even the traps that Lucas sets up. I didn't watch the whole review, maybe she says that later and it was cut to be a little bit disingenuous. But yeah, that's the context that should be provided there. But I agree, I completely agree with that take.
Is a party of 6 where you're still stuck warring against online strangers with no say in what map you'll fight on.
It's
This is
Titanfall
unforgivable
1?
in a modern multiplayer shooter, particularly one that's exclusively team-oriented. For what it's worth, Respawn promises to deliver those soon in a free update. Despite lacking many accoutrements we've come to expect in a multiplayer shooter, I'm happy to say...
Okay, so the author of this video is arguing that this is not a score
Despite lacking many accoutrements we've come
this
to
person should have given Titanfall because he said some bad things. Okay, not being able to vote for a map is annoying, but if the gameplay is that good, because Titanfall has some of the best fucking multiplayer gameplay you can get anywhere when it comes to first-person shooters. I mean, not being able to vote on the next map doesn't discredit the whole game. Like, what the fuck, the author, what did the author of this video mean by that? Titanfall is still a great game despite the fact that it missed some rather basic features.
expect in a multiplayer shooter.
I'm happy to say Black Ops 3 doesn't just continue the series' trend of boldly trying new things. This truly is
I don't have the necessary context. I did not play Black Ops 3.
a new Paper Mario game. It's not like Super Paper Mario, to where it's different in sort of bland, meh ways. This is different for the better.
Star Fox.
How and why? You have to explain those things when you present them.
Primitive 3D is so jarringly bad that Nintendo actually canceled it in 1995 because it didn't look good alongside the groundbreaking 3D of the Nintendo 64. It barely runs on the SNES hardware, or even on its new home in the SNES Classic Edition. But if you can stomach the terrible frame rate, it is playable, enough that I could beat it on hard. Sometimes, it's even enjoyable.
Variety is good, but Xenoblade 2 throws you into the...
So it's kinda bad and it's kinda good. That's not something you should say in a professional review, I think. You should have more like a clear opinion on the game, but that wasn't the worst thing, I guess.
Variety is good, but Xenoblade 2 throws you into the deep end a bit too early for you to appreciate the value of everything at your disposal.
Okay, I completely agree with that. A game can overwhelm you with mechanics, and simplicity definitely works for some games. I think Hollow Knight is a great example of that, where you start off, you can only basically hit things and jump, and then you get a dash, spells, upgraded spells, builds are introduced, and those things get introduced like very late into the game. Getting invincibility frames on your dash move gets introduced so goddamn late into the game, and it works great for that game, because you start out simple and you end up complex. I agree, playing your cards too early can be to a detriment of your game.
School type of gameplay, and this also shows in the old school type of graphics. Characters.
Oh, that's what is it called? Pokemon Mystery Dungeon? I love that gameplay style.
Moving grids, and the animation isn't flashy at all. I know this is a throwback to older games, but it just looks lazy these days.
Yeah, it's a throwback, so it doesn't need those flashy animations because it's have like those pixel sprites. That's an L take, in my opinion. It looks fine. It probably plays fine because Mystery Dungeon has a great gameplay loop.
As if you took the jump component out of the Mario games, and I'm really curious as to why Sega forced this onto its fans.
When it comes to RPGs on the 3DS,
I don't have anything interesting to say about that one.
Strongly prefer Sticker Star.
You spend a lot of time with
Okay.
Melia, one of the weaker characters from the main campaign, and two new, highly irritating Napon named Kino and Nene.
The voiceover
I don't have the context because I didn't play that game,
is
so...
fine, but the majority of what you're hearing are zombie growls and your own character's screams.
But the campaign...
That's a very weird comparison. Like, I think those are two very different elements of a game.
is a refreshingly original near-future war scenario.
I'm willing to learn how to excel with a game's controls, even if they're difficult to grasp at the start. But with Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, it isn't a matter of understanding the controls and abilities. It's a case of the controls just not working well.
Okay, that sounds like a skill issue.
Minimal and kind of lazy at times. Not to keep comparing it to Kirby's
What?
Epic Yarn, but I don't know.
I'm sorry, Yoshi's Epic Yarn has a lazy art style. What are you smoking?
Possibly avoid that.
These control problems make Star Fox 2 the worst game in the SNES Classic Edition. It probably deserved to get cancelled, but it also deserved to see the light of day.
That's what I said before, like, probably deserves to get cancelled, but it deserves to see the light of day. Those two things cancel each other out. Pick one.
It's really rare for a big multiplayer AAA release like Evolve to feel so considered and intelligent.
What the fuck?
Every skill, every mechanic, every design choice seems to interlock in a way that's both natural and purposeful. That it's so mechanically rich and still conveys the raw energy and fun of duking it out with huge monsters and action figure-esque hunters is a real design feat.
Some of these
Okay, I disagree with fucking everything he just said. What the hell? Evolve sucks, man. It's really a slog to play, and as a hunter you are basically doing nothing for like 50% of the game. Evolve was a pretty bad game, and I don't know why you would sing such praises. He probably played like 2 games and concluded that, oh, okay, I know everything about the game, so I can write a review. The initial honeymoon phase with this game is good, but once you start playing it more, you realize that the content of the game isn't really that. It's basically non-existent. There is no sort of thing to keep you playing for like really long time.
In a way that's both natural and purposeful. That it's so mechanically rich and still conveys the raw energy and fun of duking it out with huge monsters and action figure-esque hunters is a real design feat.
Some of these changes could be seen as making Pokemon easier, but in practice, Sword and Shield are on par with previous games' difficulty.
So very easy, because all Pokemon games are easy. There never was a single hard Pokemon game ever. That's why we have Nuzlocke runs, because the games are too easy and people are looking for any kind of challenge. Okay, since I've been recording for a little while now, I think I'm gonna stop here, and if you like this video, like and subscribe, and I will definitely do more content like this, if you are, of course, interested in it as my audience. This is sort of an experiment, so bear with me here. That's everything for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.